Terence Crawford reveals that taking away Errol Spence's jab was the key to his victory against Errol Spence. And Errol Spence, not to take anything away from Errol Spence, I picked him to win the fight. You guys know that. I've already, accepted my prediction was wrong, but who could have predicted a beating like that? And Terence Crawford was on the Porterway podcast. Make sure you guys check that episode out. They had him on a Zoom call. It was very interesting. Talked about, fighting Errol Spence and his thoughts going into the fight with Spence. And he talked about, all the doubters, everybody who said he couldn't do it, that Spence was going to beat him up and stop him, walk him down, stuff along those lines. But Terence Crawford revealed that the key was just taking away his jab. And he said that once, they took away his jab, Errol Spence was ordinary. And how do you make an extraordinary fighter look ordinary? You take away his best asset, his best weapon, and that was his jab. And by Terence Crawford basically muting Errol Spence's jab, it was key in the fight, and it was obvious. And people, not until this point, really started to appreciate Terence Crawford's jab, because his jab was like a piston. It was like boom, boom, touching Errol Spence every single time, and there was nothing Errol Spence could do about it, because Terence, he looked a lot longer in there, the reach-wise. His jab from the southpaw stance was getting to Errol before Errol's could from his southpaw stance. So that just goes to show that Terence probably has a better jab than Errol. At least in that fight, it was way more effective, way faster, stronger, and it was hurting Errol. I've never seen someone get beat up with the jab like Errol Spence was getting beat up with it by Terence Crawford's jab. And that's just testament to how good Terence Crawford is, because he talked about how a lot of people, when he fights his opponents, they always credit his opponents. Oh, this guy's fast, this guy does this, he has a great jab. But they never talk about Terence Crawford and all the tools that he has, because he has so many of them. He's so dynamic, he's so well-rounded that people that watch him almost take it for granted. And I think that's a major problem with boxing, is that we often take talent for granted, especially when it comes to guys like Terence Crawford. Even me, I overlooked him personally. I picked Errol Spence to win the fight. I thought he was the bigger guy, and I thought his jab was going to be better, his defense was going to be tighter, and he'd look a lot stronger in there. But the reality of the situation was Errol, coming down to 47, didn't look really strong. This is probably the worst weight cut for him, because he hasn't done it in over a year. And then fighting a guy like Terence Crawford, you have to be at your best. And Errol Spence definitely wasn't at his best. It wasn't at his strongest. Not making any excuses. It just wasn't a good version of Errol Spence, in my opinion. I think he can do better in a rematch. I don't think the rematch should take place anytime soon, specifically not this year. Maybe I'm thinking May of next year at the earliest. I think Errol Spence needs to take about a year off and reevaluate the situation and rewatch the film, and head back to the drawing board, get working with Derek James, and he'll be fine. He'll recover and everything like that. And it's all about the game plan, everything, if he wants to even activate that rematch clause. But it was just interesting to hear Terence Crawford talk about how he thought Errol Spence, when he hit him the first time, he got hit with a shot from Errol Spence, a big left hand, and he said, "That's it. It's going to be a long night for you." That's what Terence Crawford said, and that's how you know he's a problem. Everyone, including me, even said, his chin might be a little suspect, his punch resistance isn't the best, but against a guy like Errol Spence who hits hard, and he has that thump, he carries that thump, Terence Crawford wasn't affected by it. So every fighter takes punches differently, so everyone's affected. Just because Errol Spence was able to hurt guys like Ugas, guys like Danny Garcia, and put a beating on them, doesn't mean that he's going to be able to do the same against a guy like Terence Crawford. And that's just what Terence Crawford's trying to prove. That's what he's trying to make that statement and show that his game plan worked. He didn't even do anything like crazy. They asked him, like, what was the key to your success? And he just said taking away the jab, and it made Errol look basic. It made him look ordinary. And that was true. Without Errol's jab, when your leading weapon, your primary weapon, which was Errol Spence's jab, when you're using that and it's not working as it usually does, you get discouraged. And then after that, Errol's jab became predictable. He gave Terence Crawford patterns, and then that's when the first knockdown came. Terence Crawford hit him with the 2-1 instead of the 1-2, his left hand, and then followed it up with a stiff right hand jab. And it put Errol Spence down because his balance wasn't that good. A lot of it is about balance, and I think Terence Crawford is underrated in that aspect. People talk about the hand speed and switching stances, having the fast twitch muscles. Yeah, that's all true, but he's also a very well-balanced fighter, and it's hard to combat that if you're a guy like Errol Spence, who's very flat-footed, who's heavy on his feet, and doesn't have the best balance. But, you know, I relied more so on the strength and his jab. The jab was negated, and then you have the strength that maybe has to do with the weight, but Terence Crawford was the stronger man that night, and there's no doubting that. But I just think it's just interesting to hear about his game plan, because we always think it's so complex, but at the end of the day, Terence Crawford, you know, he did the obvious thing, took away his jab, and it was the story of the fight. So let me know in the comments what you guys think about, you know, Terence Crawford saying that all they had to do was take away Errol's jab. You know, that it's true. Is Errol Spence, you know, a simple fighter to break down now? Is that the key to beating Errol Spence? Can anyone else do it now that they've seen Terence Crawford do it? I don't know. I think Terence Crawford's just a different breed and just made a great, you know, an A- fighter, and Errol Spence look ordinary, like a B- fighter. And, you know, Terence is just on that A+ level right now. No one can mess with him. But thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys next time. Have a great one.
That's going to do it for another Naz Fight Media video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's been your boy, Matt Nabong, with another video. Hope you guys enjoyed it all. Thank you guys for the constant support. Salute to y'all always. It's been your boy.